Control isn't something you shout about. It's something you become. When you stop reacting, you stop giving people permission to move you. Most of them only understand noise, so when you give them silence, they start to fear you. They don't know what you're thinking, what you're planning, and what you're capable of. And that uncertainty, that's where your power begins. Because the moment you stop responding to their pushes, their opinions, their little provocations, you become the only steady thing in the room. And the one who stays steady is always the one in control. Listen carefully. Most people are not as complex as they pretend to be. They're loud because they want to look strong. They react fast because they want to look confident. But the truth is simple. The moment you stop reacting to them, their entire structure collapses. They don't know how to function when someone isn't playing their game. You think silence is passive? It isn't. Silence is pressure. And pressure forces people to show their real nature. When you stop reacting, you're not avoiding conflict. You're creating a mirror. And people hate mirrors, because mirrors expose what they're trying to hide. So here's the truth. If you want to understand someone, stop responding to their noise. Don't match their tone. Don't explain yourself. Don't defend anything. Just watch what they do next. That next move, that's who they really are. When you don't react, they start revealing their intentions, their arrogance, their insecurity, their desperation for control. All of it comes out by itself. And you stay still. Not because you are weak, because you know stillness is leverage. Every time someone tries to provoke you, they're testing your stability. They want to know how easily you can be moved. And the moment you show them you can't be moved, not by insults, not by pressure, not by manipulation, they lose their confidence. They lose the illusion they built around themselves. You need to understand something. Reacting gives them information. Your anger tells them where to attack you. Your frustration tells them what works. Your defensiveness tells them you're unsure. But silence gives them nothing, and nothing is terrifying. People fear what they can't read. People fear what they can't move. People fear what they can't control. So speak less, show less, reveal nothing unless you intend to. Let them talk, let them guess, let them overthink, let them expose every intention they were trying to hide. Because when you stop reacting, the balance shifts. Suddenly, they're the ones explaining themselves. They're the ones trying to impress you. They're the ones stumbling over their own words because they can't understand why you're not playing along. That is control, not noise, not anger, not chaos, just discipline and silence that makes them unravel. Remember this, every reaction you don't give becomes another layer of power around you, and the world feels that power long before you ever say a single word. You want power? Then learn this first rule. You don't have to answer everything that demands your attention. People will pull at you with their opinions, their emotions, their little traps disguised as questions. They want a reaction because a reaction gives them direction. It tells them where to push next. It shows them where you're open. But when you choose silence, when you choose to say nothing even when they expect everything, you take that direction away from them. And without direction, people lose their strength. Understand something. Discipline isn't about controlling the world. Discipline is about controlling yourself so the world can't touch you. When someone tries to provoke you, they're not attacking your intelligence. They're attacking your discipline. They want to see if you break, if you slip, if you let emotion leak through your words. Because once you do, you've given them an entry point. So you need to train yourself to stay calm in moments where most people explode. Not because you're pretending to be strong, but because strength isn't proven through reaction. Strength is proven in what you refuse to react to. You don't need to respond to disrespect. You don't need to justify your decisions. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to argue with anyone who already decided they want to misunderstand you. When you say nothing, you aren't losing ground. You're choosing your battlefield, and that choice is power. People will tell you silence is weak, that not responding means you don't know what to say. Let them believe that. Their misunderstanding is part of your weapon, because the moment you stop caring about how they interpret your silence, you become untouchable. You detach from their expectations. You detach from their emotional bait. And most importantly, you detach from their control. Here's the truth. Discipline, to say nothing, isn't about suppressing your voice. It's about knowing that your voice is valuable and refusing to waste it on noise. Save your words for moments that matter. Save your energy for actions that shift the room. Save your strength for decisions that carry weight. Saying nothing doesn't mean you're empty. It means you're calculating. And when you finally decide to speak, they'll remember every word, because silence made those words heavier. That is discipline. That is leverage. That is the first real step toward power. Calm isn't softness. Calm isn't kindness. Calm is a test. One most people fail the moment pressure touches them. When you stay calm, you're not trying to look strong. You're exposing who breaks first. And the truth is, people break fast when they realize their noise can't move you. Your calm pulls the mask off them. A person who feels powerful only when you react is never powerful at all. A person who needs your emotion to validate theirs is already unstable. And your calm, your silence, your stillness shows them exactly how fragile they are. Understand this. People watch your face more than your words. If you stay calm, they feel small. If you stay calm, they feel exposed. If you stay calm, they feel judged by your silence. And that judgment, unspoken, cold, heavy, is something they cannot handle. Your calm becomes a mirror. And most people hate their own reflection when they're angry, insecure, or losing control. They see themselves slipping, and they want you to slip with them. That's why they poke, push, provoke, because if they can drag you into their chaos, they no longer feel alone in it. But when you don't move, when you don't rise, when you don't flinch, they're forced to confront the truth. Their chaos is theirs alone. Your calm exposes their weakness more effectively than any argument ever could. People expect reactions. They expect anger. They expect defensiveness. They expect you to play the game. But when you don't, they have nothing left. They start revealing their insecurity. They start revealing their desperation. They start revealing how badly they needed you to lose control. Your calm is not silence. It's pressure. It's dominance. It's presence. And here's something most people never realize. The calmer you are, the more control you hold. Chaos comes from emotion. Control comes from clarity. And clarity comes only from a mind that is not being dragged around by external noise. You don't win by being louder. You win by being the one who cannot be shaken. So watch how they react when you stay calm. Watch who gets irritated. Watch who becomes defensive. Watch who tries harder to provoke you. Those reactions are confessions. They tell you exactly who needs control and who fears losing it. And every time you remain calm, you force them to reveal more, bit by bit, moment by moment, until the entire truth about them sits in front of you. Your calm is the test, a test they don't know they're taking, a test almost everyone fails. And that failure gives you all the information and all the advantage you need. Remember this, the one who stays calm sets the terms of the situation, and the one who sets the terms already holds the power. When you're truly in control, you don't waste energy defending yourself. Defending is what insecure people do. Explaining is what uncertain people do. Justifying is what rattled people do. Every time you defend yourself, you hand someone proof that their pressure is working. Control doesn't need defense. Control watches. When someone challenges you, their goal is simple. They want a reaction that shows them they've struck a nerve. They want to see you explain why you're right or why they're wrong. They want you to step into their frame, play by their rules, dance to their rhythm. The moment you defend yourself, you've already stepped into their world. But observation keeps you in yours. When you observe instead of react, you're gathering information they never meant to give you. You're reading tone, emotion, motive, insecurity. You're seeing exactly where they're strong, where they're weak, and where they can be broken. People reveal everything when they feel unheard. When you don't defend, they assume you're not threatened. And when someone realizes they can't threaten you, they start revealing their true intentions. Their voice shifts. Their body language changes. Their strategy becomes obvious. All because you didn't defend. You need to understand this. The one on the defensive is never in control. The one who observes is. Observation is not passive, it's strategic. While they're speaking, you're analyzing. While they're pushing, you're calculating. While they're provoking, you're mapping their entire mindset. They think they're leading the interaction, but the truth is, you're using their noise to understand them better than they understand themselves. The one who talks too much loses the advantage. The one who listens owns it. When you observe, you control the pace of the interaction. You decide when to speak. You decide if something deserves your words. You decide whether the conversation ends, continues, or shifts direction. And most importantly, you decide how much of yourself the other person gets to see. People can't manipulate what they can't read. They can't predict someone who gives them nothing. They can't threaten someone who refuses to react. Observation builds a wall around you, one they can't climb, can't break, and can't understand. So next time someone tries to pull you into an argument, into chaos, into emotional noise, don't defend. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just watch. Watch how their composure fades. Watch how their confidence cracks. Watch how they start talking faster, louder, more desperately, trying to pull something out of you, trying to drag you to their level, trying to force a reaction so they can feel in control again. But you're not giving them that, because you don't defend, you observe. And the one who observes owns the entire room. Remember that. Doubt is a powerful weapon. But here's the part most people never understand. You don't create doubt by talking. You create doubt by not reacting. When you refuse to respond the way they expect, you force their mind to turn against itself. They start questioning their words, their actions, their assumptions. They replay the moment over and over, trying to understand why you didn't move, why you didn't defend, why you didn't give them the satisfaction they were aiming for. Silence is simple, but what it does to people is not. When you react less, they don't think you're calm. They think something is wrong. They think you know something they don't. They think you're planning something you're not saying. Your lack of reaction becomes a threat they don't know how to measure. The moment someone realizes they can't trigger you, they lose their sense of control. And when people lose control, they lose clarity. Their confidence shakes. Their words stumble. Their decisions become impulsive instead of strategic. And all you did was nothing. You need to understand how the human mind works. People depend on your reaction to guide their behavior. If you react with anger, they know they can provoke you. If you react with panic, they know they can pressure you. If you react with defensiveness, they know they've touched insecurity. But when you don't react at all, you give them no map, no direction, no sign of weakness, no indication of what you feel or what you think. And uncertainty destroys them from the inside. Your silence becomes their overthinking. Your stillness becomes their confusion. Your calm becomes their anxiety. Your composure becomes their insecurity. They start wondering, did I say something wrong? Does he know something I don't? Is he angry? Is he disappointed? Is he planning something? Why didn't he react? Why didn't he respond? Why didn't he break? Every question they ask themselves is a victory for you. The less you react, the more they turn on themselves. Their mind starts filling the silence with stories. They create threats that don't exist. They imagine consequences you never said. They fear outcomes you never promised. You don't have to intimidate them. Their imagination will do it for you. But here's the key. Your lack of reaction must be intentional, not passive, not careless, controlled, measured, purposeful. You're not ignoring them. You're letting their own thoughts corner them. Because when people doubt themselves, they lose the power to challenge you. When they doubt themselves, they step back. When they doubt themselves, they think twice before crossing you again. Your silence makes them hesitate. Your calm makes them uncertain. Your composure makes them question everything they believe about you and everything they believe about themselves. So remember this, every reaction you refuse becomes a seed of doubt in their mind. And doubt is more dangerous than anger. Doubt eats them alive long before you ever need to lift a finger. Detachment is not indifference, it's control. It's the ability to stay untouched in a world where everyone is desperate to pull you into their emotions, their chaos, their expectations. People don't fear power. They fear a person who can't be influenced, a person who doesn't bend when pushed, a person who doesn't react when provoked, a person who stays centered while everyone else is losing themselves. When you detach, you make yourself untouchable, not because you're distant, but because you choose what reaches you and what doesn't. Most people live on emotional autopilot. A single comment shifts their mood. A little disrespect pulls them into conflict. A small inconvenience ruins their day. Everyone has access to them. Everyone can push their buttons. You refuse to operate like that. Detachment means you stop letting people decide how you feel. You stop letting situations dictate your internal world. You stop handing strangers the remote control to your emotions. It's not coldness, it's mastery. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain unmoved, they feel powerless. They realize their tactics don't work on you. They realize you're not built like the rest. And that realization shifts the entire dynamic. Detachment forces people to approach you differently, with caution, with restraint, with respect, because they know nothing they do can shake you. Listen closely. When you detach emotionally, you think clearer. You see motives without distortion. You understand people better than they understand themselves. You spot lies, insecurity, jealousy, manipulation, because your judgment is no longer clouded by emotion. Most people cannot see the truth because their feelings get in the way. They assume too much. They get pulled into the noise. But you stay above it. Detachment is not about shutting down. It's about choosing when to open up and when to close the door. It's about controlling your emotional exposure. It's about being selective with your energy, your attention, your reactions. You don't have to respond to every emotion that rises. You don't have to absorb other people's negativity. You don't have to match anyone's chaos. Detachment gives you the distance needed to see things clearly, without attachment, without distortion, without weakness. And here's the part that makes you untouchable. People can't manipulate what they can't engage. They can't break a wall. They can't reach. They can't control someone who remains emotionally independent. When you detach, you stop being affected. When you stop being affected, you stop being controlled. And when you stop being controlled, you become dangerous. Not because you're violent, not because you're unpredictable, but because nothing moves you unless you decide it should. That is what makes you untouchable. Your emotions belong to you. Your state of mind belongs to you. Your internal world belongs to you. And the moment you protect that world with detachment, you rise above everything and everyone trying to pull you down. That's the power they can't reach, and the power they'll never understand. Silence is not absence. Silence is architecture. It shapes the room. It sets the rules. It decides who holds the power and who chases it. Most people don't understand silence. They think it means you have nothing to say. They think it means you're unsure or intimidated or uncertain. But that's because they only know how to operate in noise. They've never stood in front of someone who uses silence as a weapon. When you choose silence, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, they're the ones filling the air. They're the ones over-explaining. They're the ones trying to justify their words. They're the ones feeling exposed. Your silence forces them into the spotlight they didn't prepare for. Silence is pressure. The type of pressure that makes people reveal their intentions without realizing it. They start saying too much. They start giving away information they should have kept. They start showing their fears, their insecurities, their guilt, all because you refuse to give them the reaction they came for. Your silence becomes a trap they walk into willingly. People expect resistance. They expect arguments. They expect emotion. When you give them none of that, they lose their balance. They start questioning themselves instead of questioning you. They start analyzing their own words instead of waiting for yours. That's the power dynamic silence creates. They become the confused one, and you become the one they're trying to understand. You need to recognize the psychological shift here. When someone can't get a read on you, they start inventing explanations. They assume things you never said. They imagine meanings you never implied. They create scenarios you never planned. Your silence forces them into their own head, and most people are not strong enough to handle their own thoughts. They overthink. They panic. They misread the situation. They act from fear instead of logic. All because you didn't speak. Silence doesn't make you passive. It makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. Because power isn't about dominating the room. It's about being the one no one can figure out. Your silence becomes a position above the noise, a position outside the chaos, a position where you are watching everything while revealing nothing. And here's the part that truly traps them. Silence forces them to adjust to you, not the other way around. They pause before speaking. They choose their words carefully. They try not to offend. They try to impress. They try to understand your boundaries, even though you never stated a single one. Not because you imposed rules, but because your silence made them create their own. Silence isn't emptiness. It's influence. It's command. It's presence that speaks louder than any voice. And once you master it, people won't just respond to your silence. They'll fear what it might mean. Speed is overrated. People rush because they're insecure. They want to prove something. They want to look decisive, impressive, powerful. But rushing only exposes their weakness. It shows they're ruled by pressure instead of purpose. When you move slowly, with intention, you create a completely different atmosphere. People feel it. They sense it. They become aware of you in a way they can't explain. Because slow movement isn't laziness. It's control. Slow movements tell everyone around you one thing. You're not in a hurry because you are not threatened. The ones who rush are the ones trying to catch up. The ones who move slowly are the ones already ahead. When you walk slower, talk slower, breathe slower, respond slower, your presence becomes heavier. People start adjusting to your pace. They wait for your words. They measure your silence. They become more cautious with their own behavior. Your pace becomes their tension. But here's the real power. Slow movements paired with sharp intention. You don't need to move fast to strike hard. You don't need to react instantly to dominate the room. Your strength comes from precision, not speed. When your intention is clear, cold, focused, sharp, every step you take becomes a message, not rushed, not scattered, not emotional, just calculated. You don't swing wildly. You don't speak without purpose. You don't act because someone demands it. You act because you decide the moment, not them. Slow movement shows patience. Sharp intention shows danger. It's the combination people fear. When you take your time before speaking, they overthink what you might say. When you pause before acting, they imagine consequences you haven't even planned. When you move at your own pace, they adjust their entire behavior to match it. You create psychological weight simply by refusing to be rushed. And most people can't handle that weight. Understand this. Moving slowly doesn't make you passive. It makes you deliberate. It makes every action count. It makes your presence impossible to ignore. People feel more threatened by someone who moves with calm precision than someone who moves with loud aggression. Aggression is predictable. Precision is not. Slow movements tell the world you're in control of yourself. Sharp intentions tell the world you're in control of the situation. You need both. Because when your movement is calm and your intention is sharp, nobody knows what you're planning. They can't read you. They can't anticipate you. They can't influence your timing. And when they can't influence your timing, they can't influence you. Move slow enough to stay composed. Think sharp enough to stay dangerous. Let your pace unsettle them. Let your intention cut through the noise. Remember, power doesn't shout. Power doesn't rush. Power doesn't chase. Power moves when it wants, exactly how it wants, with intention sharp enough to change the entire room, and calm slow enough to make everyone feel it. Words are not meant to fill silence. Words are meant to carry weight. The more you speak, the less impact every word has. The less you speak, the sharper your presence becomes. Every word becomes a tool, every sentence a strike. Most people don't understand this. They talk to prove they're there. They talk to assert dominance. They talk to show knowledge. But all they do is weaken themselves. They scatter their power across empty air. You don't talk to show strength. You talk to deliver consequence. And consequence is heavy. It doesn't need volume. It doesn't need repetition. It doesn't need justification. When you speak less, people start listening differently. They wait. They analyze. They anticipate. Because your words are rare, they carry weight. They become signals, commands, unspoken threats. Every word you do speak becomes measured, final, inescapable. No filler, no hesitation, no emotion that clouds meaning, only purpose, only intent, only authority. Silence builds tension. Tension gives your words power, and power hits hardest when it's unexpected, when it comes after quiet, when it comes after patience, when it comes after the room has been watching you, waiting. Most people talk too much because they're insecure. They fear being ignored. They fear losing control. You don't fear that. You let silence do your work for you. And when you finally speak, it is felt, not just heard. It lands, and it cannot be ignored. It cannot be countered. It cannot be denied. Think carefully about this. Words carry energy. Use them sparingly, and every word becomes a statement of dominance. Use them too often, and they fade into noise. The world doesn't remember filler. It remembers impact. When you speak less, people adjust to you. They pause before they speak. They choose their words carefully. They gauge your meaning. They feel the weight of what you might say next. And in that space, you control the room without moving a muscle. Speak less. Listen more. Wait for the moment when your word is required. Then deliver it cold, precise, and final. Because power is not in talking. Power is in being understood. Power is in being felt. Power is in every word hitting harder than anything they expected. Predictability is what makes people feel safe. They study your reactions, your tone, your triggers. They rely on your emotions to map out your next move. Take that away, and you become unreadable. And when you're unreadable, you're dangerous. Emotional reactions give people access to you. They reveal your weaknesses. They expose your pressure points. They show exactly what gets under your skin. But when you stop reacting emotionally, people lose their blueprint. They lose the advantage. They lose control. Understand this. People aren't afraid of loud anger. They're afraid of calm silence. Silence that doesn't explain itself. Stillness that doesn't reveal intention. A face they can't interpret. A mind they can't predict. When you no longer react emotionally, you're not just calm, you're strategic. You decide which battles exist. You decide which words matter. You decide what gets your attention. Your restraint becomes a form of intimidation. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're capable of. That's where fear begins, inside their imagination. Not because of what you show, but because of what you don't show. People expect reactions. They expect you to respond impulsively. They expect emotional feedback. Take that away, and they feel unbalanced. Their usual tactics fail. Their manipulation has no effect. Their provocations die on impact. You become unpredictable, not because you're wild, but because you're controlled. And control is the sharpest weapon in any psychological encounter. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, they hesitate, they overthink, they watch every small movement, they second-guess their words, they fear what happens next. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove your strength. Your lack of reaction becomes the threat. It tells them you operate on your own logic, your own timing, your own understanding of the situation. People don't fear emotional men, they can predict them. They fear the quiet ones, the ones who don't break character, the ones who don't give the enemy anything to work with. When you stop reacting emotionally, you change the entire dynamic. You take yourself out of their reach. You make every move deliberate. You make every silence a message. You make your presence heavier, darker, harder to manage. And in that controlled stillness, you become the one thing they can't prepare for. A threat without a pattern, a danger without a warning, a mind they simply cannot read. Control isn't created by what you display. It's built on what you hide. People think power comes from showing strength, showing confidence, showing dominance. But real dominance comes from not giving them access to the parts of you they can use. People can only attack what they can see. They can only manipulate what they can read. They can only influence what you expose. So the less you show, the less anyone can touch. You don't need to reveal your emotions. You don't need to reveal your next move. You don't need to reveal what you care about or what you fear. The things you keep locked inside become your shield. Understand this clearly. People study you more than you think. They watch your reactions, your habits, your energy, your tone. They're looking for an entry point, one weakness, one insecurity, one emotional crack they can use. If you give them nothing, they have nothing to work with. When you withhold, you create mystery. And mystery creates tension. Tension creates power. Because people don't fear what is loud, they fear what is hidden. When they can't tell if you're angry, they stay cautious. When they can't tell if you're hurt, they tread lightly. When they can't tell what you're planning, they start imagining the worst. And the imagination is far more frightening than any threat you could speak. You don't owe anyone your reactions. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them clarity. Control is the discipline of letting them guess. Hold your emotions behind a closed door. Hold your intentions behind a quiet stare. Hold your thoughts behind a slow breath. The less they know, the more they respect or fear. Either one works. Most people hand their power away by revealing too much, too quickly, too emotionally, too openly. But when you learn to keep things inside, you start moving like someone who cannot be influenced. You become a force. No one can soften, no one can provoke, no one can predict. And that's the point. Control is never about being the loudest voice. It's never about proving anything to anyone. It's about understanding that visibility is vulnerability, and the one who reveals the least holds the most leverage. So keep your cards face down. Keep your thoughts sealed. Keep your emotions guarded. Because the moment people stop knowing who you really are, they stop knowing how to deal with you. And that's when control is no longer something you try to maintain. It becomes something they can't take from you. Stillness isn't weakness. Stillness is a trap. And most people walk straight into it without realizing they've already lost. When you stay still, emotionally, mentally, strategically, you put pressure on the other person to reveal themselves. People can't tolerate silence. They can't sit with uncertainty. They can't handle waiting. So they move first. They speak first. They react first. And the one who reacts first always gives away more than they intended. Your stillness exposes their impatience. Your calm exposes their insecurity. Your lack of movement exposes every fear they're trying to hide. They end up showing their strategy while you haven't even lifted a finger. Understand this. Most people believe action equals power. They think if they talk more, push more, argue more, demand more, they're in control. But real control lies in the person who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't respond on command, the one who doesn't let urgency dictate their behavior. When you stay still, you force them to wonder what you're thinking. You force them to guess what you're planning. You force them to question whether they've already made a mistake. And that doubt, that hesitation, that overthinking is exactly what gives you the upper hand. Stillness changes the entire dynamic of any interaction. If you don't rush to explain yourself, they start questioning their assumptions. If you don't hurry to defend yourself, they start wondering if they misjudged you. If you don't mirror their emotions, they start feeling exposed. Your stillness makes them uncomfortable because it removes the script they rely on. They can't control a person who doesn't react the way they expect. They can't manipulate someone who isn't emotionally moved. They can't predict someone who refuses to play the game. And eventually, they move first, not because they want to, but because they can't stand not knowing. They show their intentions. They reveal their weaknesses. They make impulsive decisions, and every impulsive decision gives you leverage. Your stillness becomes a mirror. It reflects their true nature back at them. Some people crumble, some panic, some overextend, some retreat, but none of them remain steady. Not when you refuse to move. So stay still, calm, unshaken. Not because you're passive, but because you're strategic. Let them act out of fear while you act out of clarity. Let them reveal their hand while you hide yours. Let them rush into mistakes while you choose your steps. Your stillness isn't silence, it's control. And control always belongs to the one who moves last. Reactions are traps. They pull you into someone else's narrative. They make you part of a story you didn't write. Every time you react, you surrender control over the outcome. You let them set the pace. You let them decide the stakes. You let them frame the conflict. When you stop reacting, you take the narrative back. You stop being a character in someone else's drama. You become the author, the one who decides how it ends, the one who determines the consequences, the one who controls the timing, the scope, the weight of every action. Understand this clearly. People want you to respond. They want to see your anger. They want to see your frustration. They want to see your panic. They rely on your emotions to predict your next move, and prediction gives them power. Refuse them that. Refuse to react. Refuse to give them a hint of how you feel. Refuse to validate their pressure. Refuse to enter the game on their terms. When you stop reacting, the world slows down for you. You see the moves before they're made. You anticipate the outcomes before anyone else considers them. You gain clarity that comes only when your mind isn't hijacked by someone else's chaos. And clarity is the tool you use to write the ending. When others are flustered, impatient, or desperate, you operate with precision. Your timing becomes your weapon. Your decisions carry weight. Your actions are inevitable. Every choice you make hits harder because it is intentional, measured, and uncompromised. Choosing the ending doesn't mean you act quickly. It means you act deliberately. You let the noise happen around you. You watch the confusion, the mistakes, the desperation unfold. And only when the moment is perfect, only when the outcome favors you, do you act. Then, every move is final. Every word is conclusive. Every consequence lands exactly where you intended. People never see it coming because they've been waiting for you to react. They've been chasing your emotions. They've been expecting noise, but you gave them nothing. And nothing makes them vulnerable while you remain untouchable. When you no longer react, you own the ending. You control the timing. You define the outcome. You shape the consequences. And the best part? They'll only understand your power after it's done too late to change anything. The moment you refuse to react, you step out of their story. You create your own. And the ending is yours. Final, absolute, and always on your terms. Control isn't something you grab in the moment. It's not earned through noise, anger, or speed. It's maintained by discipline, by silence, by patience, by knowing when to speak and when to hold back, by letting others reveal themselves while you remain unreadable, by moving slowly, acting deliberately, and never handing them the advantage. Power isn't loud. It isn't obvious. It's quiet, calculated, and relentless. And the one who understands this, who guards their mind, their reactions, their intentions, doesn't just gain control. They keep it. Always, always on their terms.